This Pitch Breakfast video is brought to you by Spangler and Agans.
We had an incident today that we don't normally have. It doesn't happen very often, but one of our pitchers was not able to make it. So, very positive with Nimbus is going to pitch on the fly today. So this is going to be very interesting, and he is ready to go. Raymond, come on over. Tell us what you're going to pitch on.
Actually, I'm not gonna use the mic. Oh, you need me to? All right. All right. This got set up as I walked through the door. So, however, I did get to throw the pitch last night. It went over well. What I'm going to be talking about is Nimbus. We are a payment processing company, but to say that we do credit cards minimizes what we do. The year's 2010. There's $6 trillion running through 3 companies, American Express, MasterCard, and Visa. 5 years later, it is almost doubled. That's a lot of money to be going around. So, part of this pitch, we're going to go over 3 different technologies that we handle. Let's start with the simple stuff first. Credit cards. Everybody does it. How many of you have heard of Square? How many of you have used Square? Stop that. Use Nimbus now. One of our models that we do is, let's attack that in one big element. 2.75% when you first start out is a great rate. However, once you get any type of volume, it starts to get very, very bad. Okay, at the end of the year, you can see this occur. We start everybody out at 2.25%. Where are we industry changing in this? We actually monitor your sales every 30 days. As you increase in volume, we automatically drop your percentage rates. This is big. What we're doing is we're rewarding small and mid-sized companies to grow. We want to see them grow. Like I said, though, this is the easy stuff. This is what everybody does. Where are we a little bit different? We've integrated all payment systems, including Bitcoin, Bitcoin Exchange, and a Bitcoin ATM system into this network. Everything we do pushes the consumer to the merchants. Once again, we're helping them build their business. Still, we're talking about easy stuff to do. Everybody's doing it. Our gift card programs, our loyalty programs, all of it's the easy. Where do we really differentiate ourselves? We integrate the consumer into this entire ecosystem. Anybody have any ideas what that actually means? What it means is we're actually encouraging the consumer to become part of the same payment systems that you're in. How does that work? Well, through our custom hardware and our custom software, we can now track when they walk through the door. Still, there's companies out there doing that. ShopKit comes to mind. What if I told you that we can track you while you're inside the store? We know where you are, what you're looking at, where you've gone to next, how long you spent there. This is our interactive customer data mapping technology. We're one of the only companies that are doing anything of this sort. How do we do it? Once again, I told you we have some very customized hardware. This little chip does it. The other part of this component, every single person in this room has one in their pocket. By integrating the customer into this process, we're able to track, we're able to serve up digital ads, we're able to serve up and push those customers to our current customer base. This is big for our small and medium-sized merchants. Why? A lot of this technology has normally only been accessible to the big box stores, those that have multi-million-dollar budgets. How are we doing this? Through our customer apps and our getting them involved with our custom software, we're able to push information to the consumer that they want to have. So, we're going to take a TV like this. This isn't my slide, by the way. What if I told you that when you walk past it, it would know your name? What if I told you when you walk past it, it knows what you've been shopping for and it'll dish out specialized ads just for you? All of our hardware and our technology currently can do this. Wow, I just used the one word I hate hearing. Sorry. Overall, the company is set. All of our software is written. Everything is ready to roll out at this point in time. What are we looking for? We're looking for the next stages in our VC. Other than that. Oh.
Yeah, we're talking.
Yeah. I want to hear you do, let's get ready to roll.
So first of all, my first comment to you, I think it's great to be able to get up and be able to do that on the fly, not having kind of got ready for it to do it, not have any slides. You've obviously presented it in the past. You said you presented it last night, so it's familiar content, but I always give you kudos for being able to get up at any moment. It's a good lesson for entrepreneurs, which is be ready at any moment, at any place to stand up and do your pitch and be able to do it in a way that's compelling. So that's probably the best moral out of you getting up and doing this presentation for the audience. Interesting things in there because it's, you talked about payments being big, some things I could relate to. You did make some assumptions about things I know. Like you held up that little thing and said it's in my pocket, but you never went the next step. I assume that's an RFID chip and it's in my cell phone, but you never said that.
Negative. That chip is specialized. This is what's in your pocket. Right?
Okay, but you never said that. So
correct.
Make sure you, because you're so familiar with it and you do it all the time, understand that all these folks are hearing this all for the first time, and you made some assumptions about what they probably know, and they probably left with big question marks in their head, and they can fill you in on some other things that are probably question marks for them. The other question is getting to the end of the ask, which you kind of got to. I know was on the fly, so you didn't know where you were going to be going with that, but even if you're going to say it's an investment, talk a little bit about the size of investment you need, where it's going to be able to take you. I'm also kind of curious to know, even if you weren't talking to investors, if you were talking to consumers, how real is this now? Is this, it's coming, or is this, wow, this is in beta at 3 stores with cell phone providers now? So that was another question mark for me. Exactly where are you in the journey? So I'll stop there.
Okay.
Great. And again, Raymond, great job standing up and doing it on the fly. And again, for everybody that ever gets an opportunity to do that, you should do it because you're extemporaneousness. You can't coach that, and it's kind of fun to get up there and be a little nervous, and who the heck knows what's going to come out. And hopefully I thought it went very well.
Plus, you never know who you'll meet.
You never know who you'll meet. So and I presume you know that you've got 2 reforming bankers sitting up here. So maybe we know a little bit about this space.
We can talk AML and KYC.
Some of us have invested in and actually started our own payments company. So I've got a lot of questions, and we may want to take several of them offsite because they're probably much more technical in nature. But a couple of things that if it was an investor pitch. I liked how you did the overall size of the payments market, which is obviously huge. I got a little bogged down in exactly where you were, where you were playing in the space, because the payments industry is big. It's really hard to get started in it. You talked a little bit about Square, and but were you really doing kind of the merchant acquisition play that Square did with their own ecosystem? And if you do that, you're really talking about the venture capital that is a huge number, right? So that was a little fuzzy. You didn't get to specifically what your ask was in terms of dollars, and I understand the setting. The other point, in terms of your go-to-market strategy, right? Where one of the things that Square did very successfully is they got a bunch of or several large, well-known retailers involved early. Is that your so a little bit about your go-to-market strategy? You got this huge amorphous market. How are you going to go penetrate it? Would have been very useful. Exactly where you were in the stage of development, right? You've got your chip. It goes here. Where is that going? And for again, in the space you're playing with, who are you partnering with? And again, it could be merchants. It could be some of the device players, right? It could be, it'd be wonderful if you walked in and said, hey, I'm doing this with Samsung, or I'm doing this with Apple. And we should have that conversation after this, by the way, because there's some resources here in Charlotte where you can tap into those. And then the other thing that you never got to really was much about team. And you really didn't give a whole lot of background on yourself and why you're relevant to how come I have actually figured out how to reinvent the payment space.
Right. Hey, some of that goes to do with the spur of the second.
I understand.
So one other comment before we turn it over to the audience, because the audience will jump on us for not bringing this one up, because I know they're going to bring it up. When you get to the pitch about we can track you through store and we know where you are, you could physically see people starting to squirm in their seats. So
Last night there was a visible ripple.
There was, yeah. So
that happens already.
We all as consumers, we all know it's coming. I think folks that are playing in that industry like you are going to have to figure out how you position it in a non-threatening, non-creepy way where I see value in it as a consumer. So I know 20,000 people are going to make that comment, so I thought I'd just throw it out there.
Thank you. Fascinating pitch. Two questions. Can you just really briefly differentiate this from iBeacon and PayPal? Because I felt like they could quickly do the television thing. It seemed like pretty quickly, but differentiate that. And then the second question.
Well, so really the question is here, what differentiates us from Square, PayPal, Pay Anywhere, you name the myriad of companies that are currently doing this mobile payment space? Several different things. One, we've integrated everything into one application. The merchant has to train one application, he has to use one application. I'm going to use a local merchant just to give you an idea. Waterbean Cafe. If anybody's been to the coffee shop up there, he accepts Bitcoin and he accepts credit cards, plus cash and everything else. However, if you walk in there handing your credit cards, the employee has to open up the Square Register app. If I walk in and say, I'm going to pay in Bitcoin, he has to open up a different app. Okay? If he has a gift card program, he's got to open up a third app. Loyalty programs, a fourth app if he's even using one. Through our system, we've integrated all of this. We've brought it into one central area. Where is this really beneficial to him? At the end of the day, he's got a single accounting to deal with, much less four. So this is one of the big differentiators. Easier training, singular accounting, one app.
So we got two questions. The first one's kind of quick, so I'll ask that one first. So where are the numbers on consumers actually using Bitcoin today versus where they're projected to go?
So, great question. Bitcoin is an amazing space to get involved in. Give you an idea, two companies, one of them you heard about, Coinbase, just got $106 million invested from some traditional banks, nonetheless. Great to hear. However, we're competing directly with them. Another little company, BitPay, got $31 million. They're located out of Atlanta. BitPay, from February of last year till December 31st of this year, acquired 45,000 new merchants. Our business plan, just to give you an idea, starts with 500 and goes to 30,000. So the space, while it is not great, for instance, there's only 8 merchants in Charlotte right now that publicly take Bitcoin. Not talking about all our e-tailers and online and all that, but we're talking about brick and mortars, 8. That leaves a big gap for merchants right now to go, hey, I accept it, because now they'll be number 9, their first 10. It's big for them.
Yeah, and that's great. So it's all well and good if they take it, but I know 0 people that have ever used Bitcoin to pay for something. But that's just me. Everyone may.
Well, I want to address that right quick. The reason why, where can you go in Charlotte right now and get Bitcoin?
I don't even know where you can get it on the internet.
So you would go through one of the big exchanges. I briefly skimmed across it ever so slightly. We do have our own exchange. However, we are rolling out Bitcoin ATMs. Our first ones will hit here in Charlotte in the next 60 days.
Okay. So second question, very quickly. With Bitcoin being essentially a universal currency or an international currency, and it being so volatile in the market, fluctuating $4 today, even and it's only 9 a.m. Also being risky with everyone having their Bitcoin farms hacked into and stolen. Where do you see that going, and why is it beneficial for a merchant to accept Bitcoin when they have to charge 3 points of a Bitcoin at 9 a.m. and 7 points of a Bitcoin at 2 p.m.?
So that's actually multiple layers there. That's a very, and we could go on for long periods of time, and I do. One of the things most people don't realize, the US dollar is just as volatile, if not more volatile, than the Bitcoin. Why Bitcoin is in our face, we're finally learning about this volatility of money and how it's backed and all of that. It's finally being brought to the forefront. That's one reason you see it in Bitcoin and not the US dollar or any other currency out there. Okay? What's the worst performing currency in the world right now? Russian ruble. You know, it's lost so much. But we don't see that. We also don't see it. How do we handle it with the merchants? Why should they accept it? As soon as they process, we immediately peg their dollar amount to that Bitcoin transaction. They never actually see Bitcoin. They get a US dollar deposit the next day in their checking account. So that's how we solve that for the merchant.
I would hit on that in the pitch.
Yeah, Bitcoin's not a store of value.
One small thing about the Bitcoin thing, it's a generational gap. That's like your grandmother using PayPal, so you'll get over that eventually.
Now I feel old.
I got a quick question. About you said the transactions go down as the percentage of transactions go down. Is that based on the volume of the transaction or the actual volume of the money? Because I have that issue with necessarily I have a lot of transactions, but my transaction invoice amount has grown, and that's an issue for me because I use Stripe.
Yeah, we can fix that for you. No.
And the last question is, do you have an API developed for you?
Our API is in process, so yes. We go off merchant volume. So it is your entire volume for the thing. Here's a little trick most people don't understand. Merchant processors, if you are doing under about $2,000 a month in processing, they make no money. So once you get to 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 or beyond, now I'm starting to make money. I want to reward you for getting to these points. I want to help you get in at a low percentage rate and get started, but I also want to start rewarding you as you go. And so, yes, we're lowering your bottom line. The reality is we're making a little bit more money too.
That's a question right here.
All right.
I have no problem with accepting money, but it sounds like there's two parts of the business. It sounds like accepting money, at least, and the consumer part. So I'm going to go there. Why should I let the big brother buy into my cell phone?
All right, quick question.
Sorry,
Do you use
there.
Gmail?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, everybody does. Do you realize they scan every incoming and outgoing email as it is? Are you okay with that? What's different here? Am I? I'm not actually.
Well, that's you're actively tracking. You choose to actively track.
Now.
So if I'm a woman that is walking through and my name shows up on the screen, and somebody has my name as well as the information
Phone number, social
I'm looking
security
at products, whatever that product might be.
So through our consumer version of the app, you do have the ability to turn off what you're transmitting, what you're giving out. However, our consumers are driven by giving that information. It's much better. Have you seen Minority Report? When he walks in and it tells him, hey, how are you liking those sleeveless sweaters you bought? Would you like me to show you more? Me as a consumer, I don't want to go in and shop and look at everything. I want very directed. I want to go right where I need to. That's where this technology is heading. Second end of it, a lot of the consumers don't see what's going on. Our customer data mapping. I use the example of Macy's. Using our devices, if they put our devices around that, they can actually target. They know where the customers went in their store, so they can put their prime displays that they want to show you, that you want to see, that you believe they'll see, in the key places. And it's that integrated mapping. So while you are giving a little bit of information to the merchants, this is usually information they already have. All that we're doing now is actually locating you, ranging you in with the technology.
Okay, thank you, Raymond. Raymond,